You're now listening to the Engage the Rockies podcast, your go-to podcast for local and state issues concerning Colorado.
Hello, Rockies. This is Sarah Jane Maroney, your host, and welcome to the third week of February 2025 Week in Review. First up, e-bikes. This actually happened on the 11th of February on a Tuesday. The City Council voted 6-3. However, this needs a second reading, this ordinance does, so it's not a done deal yet. But basically, they have said that they are going to expand e-bikes across TOPS, that is the Trails, Open Space, and Parks Committee. And they will be then allowing a Class 1 e-bike, which has a motor. And if you're pedaling, that can get you going as fast as 20 miles per hour. There's a lot of debate, lots of different opinions, and hopefully they will have this decided one way or the other by the 25th of February. And it's a phased approach, so it's not instantaneously allowed everywhere. What I found sort of interesting in this conversation is that evidently people have been using the e-bikes on the trails even though they're not supposed to, despite the posted rules against this. And the other part was that we're kind of behind the times in El Paso because Douglas and Jefferson County made this allowable years ago. So there was a news conference on Thursday from Colorado legislators. They have introduced two bills. This revolves around the Colorado Bureau of Investigation. And we covered this in Week in Review previously. There was a forensic scientist, Yvonne Missy Woods, who had a 29-year career and was turned in, and basically they've identified 1,003 anomalies among her work, and she is facing 102 counts. The JBC put through Senate Bill 170 that allows that $3 million to be turned over to continue to be spent in order to address some of the backlog. There are 1,407 backlog of rape kits, and it's been taking over 500 days for those to be processed. And the reason is that they had to stop everything and then go back through all of the cases that she had anomalies on and review all of those cases. They've also put forward HB 1275, which is requiring employees in their state lab to report when they witness or discover misconduct. And they're hoping that this law can be passed before her trial so that it could be applied to that. It's supposed to be fast-tracked through the legislature, but we don't have any dates as to when that'll be before committee or anything like that. And we've reported on this that Representative Jenny Wilford of North Glen says that one of the backlog of those 1,407 kits awaiting testing was an alleged sexual assault that she experienced at the hands of an Uber driver over a year ago. And her amendment is to the spending bill became the basis for Senate Bill 170. In terms of the city council races, the KOAA News 5 and Gazette have launched a series of forums to help voters figure out which candidates they'd like to be voting for and some of the opinions and where they stand on the city's biggest issues. District 1 and 2 have already been completed. 3 and 4 would be next week on Tuesday and Thursday, and then finally 5 and 6 the following week again. And these are televised. So just go to the KOAA app and you should be able to find that. Another option is also going to the coloradosprings.gov website and type in voter information in the search bar. And then you have a list of all the city council candidates by district, and it gives their name, phone numbers, email addresses, websites, and you can find out information like that as well. We actually interviewed Sarah Johnson, the city clerk of Colorado Springs, about elections and the city council upcoming election that will be held on the 1st of April. So please check out that podcast. In a recurring theme, there are quite a lot of gun bills that are facing the Colorado legislature in this session. Senate Bill 3, the 2025 semi-auto gun ban, would end up outlawing nearly every semi-automatic firearm that accepts a detachable magazine. It passed the Senate State Veterans and Military Affairs Committee on a party line vote of 3-2. That was on the 28th of January. It got heavily amended on the Senate floor before passing the second reading, but with the new amendments, prospective buyers will now be permitted to access the restricted semi-auto firearms if they submit all their information to a gun owner registry pay an unknown fee and quite a lot of expensive and time-consuming bureaucratic hoops. It did finally get passed through the Senate 19-15 on the 18th of February, and it is now before the House and has been assigned to the House Judiciary Committee, but no hearing has been scheduled yet. Senate Bill 158, the state agency procurement and disposal of certain items. And if you read this, these certain items are, in fact, guns, ammo, and firearm accessories. Next up is HB 1128, Income Tax Credit for Firearm Safety Device. This is a bill that will establish a tax credit equal to the purchase price of a gun safe or lockbox, but limited to a maximum of $200. Passed the first hearing in the House State Civic, Military, and Veterans Affairs Committee on the 20th and is now assigned to the House Finance Committee. Because this is a tax credit, it has to go through that secondary committee, and that hearing has not been scheduled yet. Moving on to HB 1164, Constitutional Carry of a Handgun. This would repeal the authority of local governments to regulate open or concealed carry of a handgun and enshrine state law permission to exercise the right to carry a concealed handgun without a government-issued permit. It is scheduled for its first hearing in the House State Civic, Military, and Veterans Affairs Committee on Monday, the 24th of February at 1:30. SB 59, Supports for State Response to Mass Shootings. This bill requires the Division of Criminal Justice and the Department of Public Safety to apply for and accept federal or other available grant money to improve the state's response to mass shootings, including support services for victims. This bill passed the third reading in the Senate on February 12th and was introduced into the House the following day, and it is up for its next hearing in the House State Civic, Military, and Veterans Affairs Committee on Monday, the 17th of March at 1:30. HB 1133, Requirements for Sale of Ammunition. So this requires the ammunition sellers to control access during in-person transactions. So it can't just be on a shelf that you can pick up. And it increases the purchase age of any kind of ammunition to 21 years old and also adds requirements for shipping ammunition to customers in Colorado. This bill passed the House Business and Affairs and Labor Committee on the 13th of February. SB 34, Colorado Voluntary Do Not Sell Act. The purpose of the bill is to create a self-imposed restriction on firearm purchases, allowing individuals to voluntarily waive their right to purchase a firearm, requiring CBI to deny firearm transfers to individuals who have filed this voluntary waiver, establishes an online portal for filing, updating, and revoking voluntary waivers, and mandates CBI to enter voluntary waivers into the National Instant Criminal Background Check System. It permits individuals to revoke their waiver with a 30-day waiting period. This has passed the State Senate Veterans Military Affairs Committee on the 6th of February and will go to the Senate Appropriations Committee. Two more gun bills. 55, Repeal Firearm Dealer Requirements and State Permit. So basically, firearm sellers need both a state permit and a federal permit, and this is quite redundant. So it sounds like a great thing and a great way to limit government, which is one of the principles of Engage the Rockies. Final gun bill, House Bill 1062. The bill aims to make the theft of firearms a felony, regardless of the firearm's value. District attorneys of Colorado voted unanimously to support HB 1062. It will be heard in the House Judiciary Committee on Tuesday, February 18th. Greg White of the El Paso County Sheriff's Office said approximately 500 guns are stolen from the Pikes Peak region each month. And since the departments prioritize investigating crimes with the highest penalties, the passing of this bill would lead to law enforcement devoting more time and resources to going after gun thefts in their communities. And those are the top stories for the third week of February in 2025. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for listening to the Engage the Rockies podcast, your go-to podcast for local and state issues concerning Colorado.